this new piece into the mix, as it were. There's an interesting piece in the Washington Post. It's titled, "John Eastman Isn't Going Away Quietly." Now, John Eastman, you will recall, is an attorney. He was the guy that was, part of the far right, the hardcore hard right, hate democracy, hate, American principles right. They're trying to establish an oligarchy in the United States. In fact, I think you could argue to a large extent they have established an oligarchy in the United States. And he was the one who authored this legal memo to Trump's team saying that all we have to do to keep Trump in power, even though Joe Biden won the election by 7 million votes and Joe Biden won the Electoral College, the only thing we have to do is get Mike Pence to refuse to certify it, and then throw the election into the House of Representatives. And even without Mike Pence, if we can just get a few states to refuse to certify their results, we can deprive Joe Biden of the majority that he has. And even if he ends up ahead of Trump, that would still throw it into the House if he has less than 50%. This happened in 1800, in the election of 1800. It happened in the election of 1824. Happened in the election of 1876. So, John Eastman was not nuts. He was anti-American, anti-small d democracy, anti-small r Republican, but not nuts. And, we now know about this, by the way, because of Woodward and Robert Costa's new book, Peril, which lays out his memo. So Eastman has come out and said he expects to be the tip of the spear on litigation over the separation of powers in the United States, using lawsuits to challenge executive branch overreach. Like OSHA. OSHA laws should not exist, right? It's like, seriously. But here's the interesting thing. This guy who wants to overturn democracy. His case, and many of these other cases, are going to end up before the United States Supreme Court, in all probability. This, Trump is literally challenging the right of the January 6th Commission to even exist. Says what they're looking into isn't even something that Congress has the power to investigate. Now, this is obviously BS. This is, Trump trying to run out the clock, something he's done his whole entire life, right? He owed Deutsche Bank a couple $100 million, didn't want to pay him back. What does he do? He sues them for hundreds of millions of dollars. They go, oh, never mind, Mr. Trump, you can just keep the money. Seriously, that happened a little over a decade ago. Trump has always been able to either run out the clock on things by just constantly engaging in litigation, and litigation takes time, right? Or even just weasel around them. Usually, though, it exhausts people. So, but this case, this is not going to go away unless the Democrats lose the House or the Senate or both in the election in 13 months. If they do, then yeah, those investigations will almost certainly go away. And that's the clock that Trump and his buddies like John Eastman are looking at. If we can just drag this thing out for 13 months. Now, one of the players in that is going to be the Supreme Court. That's where it's going to end up. And maybe even some of this preliminary stuff is going to pop off bounce off the Supreme Court in various ways. So what's John Eastman's relationship to the Supreme Court? Well, he used to clerk for Clarence Thomas. He's good buddies with Clarence Thomas. And what's Clarence Thomas's relationship to January 6th? Well, his wife Ginny helped pay for and organize the January 6th Stop the Steal rally that Donald Trump spoke at. Now, this is sort of like, Scalia not recusing himself. He goes hunting with Dick Cheney and then rules on Dick Cheney a couple of, 3 weeks later. The Supreme Court, at least the conservatives on the Supreme Court, have consistently put themselves above the law and certainly above the Federal Code of Judicial Ethics. We don't need no stinking code of judicial ethics. Congress could change that, by the way. Congress, under Article 3, Section 2, has the power to, quote, regulate the Supreme Court. It can define how many people they have on the court. It can define what its budget is. It can tell them where they're going to meet. It can tell them when they're going to meet. I mean, you can basically regulate the court in a whole bunch of different ways. You can't regulate their decisions, but you can actually make exceptions to what they can decide on. Regulation and exception. Read Article 3, Section 2. It'll blow your mind, of the Constitution. So the question, I suppose, is, will Clarence Thomas be intervening on behalf of his wife and on behalf of the other planners, plotters, and participants in the January 6th insurrection attempt, this coup attempt, people like John Eastman? I don't know the answer to that, but I think that in all probability, it's fairly easy to figure out. It'll be just like it was with well, actually, it's just like it's been with a whole bunch of things, but just like it's been with every attempt to hold the right wing to account, is the Supreme Court goes, hey, no, you can't hold the right wing, and oh, you want elections? Well, no, you can't have, the Shelby County decision. You can't have the Voting Rights Act. Sorry, we're going to take that out. Individual states can just mess with elections however they want. Of course, it's much larger than elections. This is the Electoral College. So that's my first topic for this hour. Do you think that Clarence Thomas is going to help the Supreme Court blow up the January 6th investigation? Is there even going to be a successful January 6th investigation 13 months from now? And what does that say about the Republican Party, that they are unanimously, well, with the exception of Kinzinger and Cheney, both who have very, very strong primary opponents, and not one of which will probably be in Congress next year. Outside of those two, the Republican Party seems to be all in on no longer having a democracy in America.